So what was I talking about to myself? Oh yeah, the second tier of reasons for why personal growth and self-development was important, um, based off the results that I got on the YouTube polls. Um, oh man, I feel like I should start all over, but that's not going to happen. We're not going to do that. The next one was improving my mindset and emotional intelligence. That got 21%. Yeah, I don't know. I thought emotional intelligence would be higher because introverted feelers, we want to understand ourselves better. Maybe we already think that we do. Um, but yeah, that was interesting. The next one, 23%, was leveraging my strengths and improving my weaknesses, which was something that I heard many times through other polls and asking people questionnaires and interviews and client calls and things like that. Was I just want to live into my strengths and shore up some of these weaknesses, stop dealing, figure out how to control my extroverted thinking commander and make something happen with my life. Um, and yet 23%. It also could have been because many of the people maybe that responded with that were NTs within Myers-Briggs personality type. And it's definitely a thing that NTs seem to gravitate towards, I think, is kind of improvement of who you are and kind of mastery of yourself. But the highest one was cultivating a greater sense of purpose and meaning in life. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like that one too. Purpose and meaning. I was kind of going down the route of fulfillment, and in recent videos and thoughts about marketing and stuff. But greater sense of purpose and meaning in life. Does that resonate with all you guys? Oh, thank you. Yeah, thanks for the background comment. It is a pretty cool background. Yep. Look at that. You're highlighted. Yeah, I was freaking out last minute. I was like, which background am I going to use? And all the ones that I made yesterday, they were not moved in the right place. And I was like, well, I like this one. So, yeah, but that was a surprising understanding. New development in the world of geek psychology was that cultivating a greater sense of purpose and meaning in life was one of the key directions that you all would like this channel to go. And I know unfortunately, I can't speak to everyone. And I think if I did, I would go crazy with how do I meet everyone's needs in this way? Not in an extroverted feeling way, but like I feel so bad if I can't talk to every single type and every single person. But then I did one more poll, and this is the last one I'll talk about. Super important question: are you an INFP? So once again, I only had 5 options. I couldn't put 16 types. And I thought about doing NF and SF and NT and, whatever one I'm forgetting, ST. But my core question, again, going to a deeper level of why is this important? What is this a symptom of? Going deeper one level was I wanted to know how many were INFPs within this channel. And I assumed most. And I was correct with most. It was 75% of the 535 results were INFPs. Wow. That's surprising also, but not, I was like, oh, cool. But yeah, because, as a Myers-Briggs personality type content creator, I spend a lot of time trying to find ways of making content that is appealing to all the types at the same time, but you have to get specific with like the specific reasons why it's difficult for this type or why this is a strength or weakness. There's just constant like alienating and trying to juggle this whole situation. And it's been honestly, it's been quite stressful for how many years have I been doing this? Let me check here. I joined YouTube December 6th, 2014. I think maybe my first video was, yeah, I think it was about then. I've been doing this for a long time. Holy cow. Holy cow. What am I going to do? Okay, I'll start answering questions now that I finished my ramble. That was quiet most of the time. Indy Kitty. Are INFP prone to cynical burnout more than other types? I'm feeling worn out taking care of other people's issues. I need therapy. Oh, well, there's nothing wrong with getting support and getting help. I don't know if I know what specifically cynical burnout is in that sense, but so extroverted feelers also deal with burnout from taking care of other people's issues. But I think there's a threshold difference, right? I think it's, extroverted feelers, the FJs, have a lot more ability and energy. And they're born in this world of extroverted feeling. As I hit my mic. And so it's not going to be as soon to register and as quick of an issue as it is for introverted feelers. I'm quick to burn out if I'm having to do stuff for a bunch of other people and having to focus on the social situation and the cues and stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, I mean, I get burnt out pretty quick with that. Although it is fueling and it's inspiring and it's something I love to do. I like to make people feel good, but it's a bit more taxing. Don't really have the energy allotted to it. Um, so I used to work at the World Expo in 2005, and I was a representative of the United States of America. And we had there were like 120 different pavilions for different countries from around the world. Super cool. Um, just so many people came to visit the pavilions. And my job was, to be a guide in a way and to like have them go through the exhibits and to explain those and just to kind of give a good face to the US. Here, take my face. Um, when I started, the only thing that I could do was to talk one-on-one to people. And I liked being outside. And so I would go and I would talk to like one specific person and just make sure that that one person was feeling good, was having a good time. And I feel that this is connected to introverted feeling, and extroverted feeling. We do things. And yeah, so I would talk to one person, and I would go talk to another one person, and another one person, just make sure that that one person, that individual, was having a good time. Not necessarily meeting their needs, but getting them to like forget about the heat and the lines. I mean, people were waiting like, 45 minutes to get into pavilions and stuff. And then I believe she's an FJ. One of my coworkers was like, Matt, you need to, you know, you should talk to more people. It's your job. And I was like, okay. And so with a push of courage, I suppose, I did. I stepped up. I took the mic quite literally, and I started doing speeches and entertaining more and kind of being a little bit more bombastic and outgoing. It was more leaning into my extroverted intuition than extroverted feeling, but I did notice that it was fueling to be able to like help more people have fun and laugh and kind of joke around with more. Not necessarily sure where that story was going, but I think it's about getting acclimated to it, and maybe going into how can I like help them on a smaller level, help change their state in some way, instead of everybody needs help right now. I don't know what to do. There's a lot of chaos going on, So finding extroverted intuition, ways of, um, you know, playing around a little bit, poking the box, enjoying things a little bit more. I think that might be one way of helping. And also just make sure that you get a lot of you time, alone time, reflection, and processing time. Hope that was helpful. I got to drink some of my beverage, my perfectly ordinary coffee. The next question, I can't really say too much about this, but I have to wonder what percentage of people diagnosed with inattentive type ADHD are INFPs. Just a random thought. I hear it all the time, like, "Oh, I've got ADHD," and most of those people are INFPs because I surround myself with a lot of INFPs, um, but also a lot of NPs. I think just perceivers in general, but I think it's more slanted towards NPs. And I'm not a doctor; I can't diagnose anything, but I do feel that things are um, kind of being misread in some ways. I think it's you have the surplus of attention as an NP, and you want to follow these passions of following different ideas and exploring different things, and you don't want to sit down. You don't want to do the same routine, introverted sensing stuff all the time. Um, and I think that kind of gets misconstrued. Is it still an issue? Probably, you know, but I think that like one of the biggest problems is when we latch onto this, like, I have this, I have anxiety, I have depression, I have ADHD, and we get like precious about it in some way, unfortunately. Instead of like, I am doing anxiety, like the video that I'm playing, the movie I'm playing in my head are the things that I'm telling myself are creating this physiology, this state, this emotional state, and then I'm acting out the process of anxiety. And we can change a lot of those things. Yes, there are physiological things as well, but I think we have a lot more control over our lives and our situations than we give ourselves credit for. Hey, Sophie. I'm an INTJ with strong FI. What is your wisdom for me as an FI, Tom? First of all, thanks for being here as an INTJ. Super cool. Thanks for asking this question. I imagine it's quite difficult to open up like that. I think it's understanding yourself and your identity and your values, despite what you achieve in the outer world, um, and remaining true to that is hard. It's hard for anybody. Um, as an INFP, like that's the place that I spend most of my time focusing on. Is like, is this right for me? Is this true to me? Is this good for me? As my identity, is it aligned with who I am? And the first 25, 30 years of my life, it was a mess and I was struggling. I couldn't figure it out. I didn't know what all these like heavy, deep, strong emotions were. Um, but by giving it more time and energy, I started to build more skills around it. And I think that's the same with all of us. Like, by putting more time and energy into your introverted intuition, you're gaining more skills and granularity and facets around it. I imagine it like putting points in talent trees, if you're a gamer. And so just knowing that, okay, it's a process. It takes time, being okay, learning to be okay with heavy emotions. And for you, I'm sure you get as a tendency of INTJs, um, getting stuck on like one strongly held value or emotion um, can be kind of problematic because it's your tertiary function. Like that's the kind of blend, the vibe that comes in with it. It's a self-protection type thing of like, well, this is super important to me and it's been highlighted, and now I need to like grab grasp it, tightly. Um, anyway, like making sure that you give yourself time for self-reflection, journaling, processing your identity, is something that's going to help you as an INTJ relieve stress as well. Maybe watch a superhero movie, and you get to see like, oh, the good versus the evil, right? And that's like a nice little way of tapping into the dynamics of introverted feeling. Of course, journaling, um, decorating your room with things that are important to you, um, dressing in ways that are important to you. I had some um, like reggae themes through my life where I was wearing like reggae towels and everything was reggae all the time as a way of self-expression. Now you don't need to go that far, but having a little trinket or something like that might be something that could be helpful for you. Hope that's helpful. It's always so weird. Like I need feedback as I'm talking to people, or I just will continue to bounce around. Yeah, yeah. So there's the next comment. My life is about fighting with myself, my logic versus my values. Yes, that's that push and pull from the auxiliary and tertiary function of like they're both just talking all the time, and we're trying to balance those. Um, it's but leaning into your auxiliary function, what I call the mentor. For you, it's the strategizing commander, it's extroverted thinking. Leaning into that is the best thing that you can probably do for growth, right? But there are other members of your questing party within your psyche that you need to pay attention to. You need to make sure that they're heard, and that is the resonating soul, as I call it, introverted feeling. Just making sure that things are aligned with you, so that you don't take actions that are hurting yourself in the long run, or other people, of course. All right. I'll try to answer these a little bit faster. We'll see what happens. Not verbally faster, but we'll see. Hey, welcome. Welcome, Cynthia. Thanks for voting. Thanks for catching me live. I don't go live too often. I wanted to do it every day this week. I got it once. I'm an INFP. I'm struggling with how to make me to feel good and how to make others do to feel good. I always feel bad for my parents and everyone. I feel like I'm not good enough. Yeah, I hear that a lot. Like I feel like I'm not good enough. Um, you are. You're good enough. I think like taking some time to qualify what is enough for you. What does enough mean? And good. Like breaking down the language of that. Good enough to do what? Good enough when? Good enough how? Good enough compared to whom? Or compared to you at what stage? When we start to break down problems, this is something that comes from change work and NLP and hypnosis and stuff. When we start to break down the problems, they often uh, they disintegrate, they fall apart when you get like more and more clear on what the actual thing is that we're talking about, because we tend to generalize everything. Well, not everything, but that's a generalization. Yeah, we get really big with this thing, like, oh, somebody said this about me, that means I'm this. And we jump straight to identity level. This is about who I am as a person. And really it's not. It's about maybe a process, a thing that you did, an action that you took, or how the other person was feeling. Maybe they were in a bad state and they just took it out on you. You don't need to take it to that level. Like, oh, I did something that got feedback that was not what I wanted. Okay, good. So take actions to get feedback more aligned with what it is that you want, or don't care about it. If the other person is completely unreasonable, then that's them. You don't need to surround yourself with people like that. I think, yeah, making yourself feel good is the key to making other people feel good. And that comes through self exploration, self understanding, putting yourself in different contexts, going to different places, learning about who you are as a person, understanding, knowing that you can um, cope, you can acclimate, that you'll be okay. That comes through experience. I will scroll down. The one thing that's really helped me to, you know, believe in myself more is um, not just theorizing and thinking about things, but like doing more. And it's scary, I know, but getting out there and talking to more people, talking to random people, doing these videos were like one of the original reasons why I started doing YouTube. So I learned stuff. Cool. I shared it on a blog because it was helping me and I wanted to, get it out there in the world or whatever. Couple people commented and were like, wow, this really helped. Thank you. I was like, well, okay. Now I got to step up. Now I got to do this at a bigger level. How do I do that? There's this thing called YouTube. Okay. So I'll start doing some YouTube videos. And it was really difficult, of course. Um, but one of the core intentions of doing the videos was to be more comfortable extroverting, to get more comfortable with logically structuring thought and ideas. And I'm not the best at this, but it's something that I've definitely worked on and learned from 764 videos, you know. Um, and yeah, it was another way of stretching my comfort zone, of putting myself out there. And nobody watched the first bunch of videos. That's good. And they won't for most people, right? You're not going to go viral or something like that after one video. If you do, then that's not a good time. You gotta learn more about yourself and hone your craft and stuff, which I'm still doing. Always will be. Um, Sherman, nice name. I've noticed that before, and I've thought it before, but I feel pretty cynical a lot. I wonder if I'm cynical or just read people pretty well and don't like what I read. Yes, it makes sense. Could be, could be what you're doing. If that's a different vibe, different dynamic. If you're an INFJ and that's what's happening, and you're an INFP and that's what's happening. Be careful with how you slice your intuition. Like I when I misread people, it's because I'm seeing something that they do and I attribute an intention to what they're doing based off my own understanding of myself. And I'm like, well, if I were in that situation and I was feeling like this and this was the thing that was happening, so I'm connecting all these like NE ideas and stuff. Well, then that's why I would do this thing. And sometimes it's a misread, like the starting node was off. And that can kind of make you cynical. It can taint your thoughts. The quickest way to not be cynical about that stuff, I think, is to ask them to get clear feedback on it. And if they respond with something that you're like, that's exactly what I was thinking, and it wasn't what you wanted, well, now you know. Now you have more data points, right? To say, well, that's actually probably what is happening. Cynthia, hello. I've heard you say in a video that you are an organized INFP. How I don't know. I don't know if I'm organized, but compared to how I was before, I'm extremely organized. I was talking to my hypnosis partner yesterday, and she has an INFP daughter, and we were talking about just the way that perceivers exist in the environment, in the world, and the clutter that comes, especially from INFPs. Unless we attach an identity around it, unless we say like I am a clean person or organized person, um, then it usually doesn't matter, right? Like I'll just have stuff around. It drives my wife crazy because I have this. I think it's an Enneagram 9 thing as well, like this trail of unfinished tasks. Um, and yeah, so she doesn't like that. It drives her nuts. And I have learned that it's good to be organized. It's good to clean things up. It's good to have some tidiness. But going back to not just cleanliness, but organization, um, studying organization, studying structure, knowing like your habits, and if you do this, then this is the thing that spirals out of that. um I think is really important. Like for me, I know in terms of business and productivity, my organization often comes from doing the right thing in the morning. I wake up, drink some water in the morning. If I do something else, if I don't start studying or being productive right away in the morning, then the whole day is kind of just like sloshy. Um, and so having that strong start is really important. And even better than that is having a strong finish to the previous day. And just making sure that you know what you want, and then clarifying what are the smaller details of that, the smaller steps that need to happen in order for you to get that, and just reworking it. That didn't work this time. Why didn't it work? Let me adjust it. Let me figure it out. Always take it as feedback that you can improve on. Yeah. But you did say you have so much clutter. So I think just organizing things, moving things around is helpful, but like throwing things out too. And I know our introverted sensing and introverted feeling can get, we can latch onto things like, no, but this has so many memories to it. You know, yeah, that's a sacrifice that has to be paid. I think if and that's a strong metaphor for nation. But like, finally, it's my time, and whatever that means. Nicholas, hello, hi. Nice story you shared about you taking the mic and speaking. Thank you. I'm glad you were able to hear it and I fixed the audio. I think this is easier for us INFPs to talk to a whole crowd doing a speech because they can't really talk back to us. Could be. Um, let's see. Isn't it be harder to discuss to a 10 to 15 people groups which can talk back? Okay, so could be. It depends on how much of like how afraid we are of the feedback. you know. What happens a lot of times is, if we feel something, we think something, and we want to put it out there, we're afraid that that is going to be reflective of us on identity level, as I was talking about before. Like, we jump pretty quickly to identity. Um, and well, did I say something that was bad? Am I bad? Am I a bad person? Like, we kind of jump to that level just by a little bit of conflict, a little bit of like the other person doesn't agree with us, you know. So with that thought, then yes, it can be difficult. But if you take it as, okay, this is a way for me to have more brainstorming possibilities. Like, somebody says something, oh, I can take that and I can, like, Aikido, flip it over and change it and turn it in back into what I was originally saying. Right? It gives you kind of more ways of testing those boundaries and playing with your intuition, playing with ideas. It just depends on how, like, um, strongly you're holding on to whatever it is that you've expressed. Hope that was helpful. Kidoi. I'm always stressed when dealing with Effie Dom people. They seem to want to talk things out all the time. Yes. How do you deal with Effie Dom people in your life as an INFP? I've learned, because I have so many around me, and, like, I've learned, one, how it affects me, but also what they want from a conversation, what they want from their cognitive dynamics. And a lot of that is like getting the vibe expressed out into the environment so that they can understand it more themselves. And they can also then understand it more based off how I'm reacting to it. Um, in Japan, like, active listening is extremely important. When somebody's talking, you're always like, mm, 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 like, always. Um, and sometimes I don't do that. And I've had that conversation with my wife before of like, it's so awkward for her when there's no feedback, there's no response for what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling. And, I'm kind of mysterious anyway as an INFP. I think we all can understand that. We don't necessarily express what we're thinking and feeling, what's going on. So I think time, effort, understanding of yourself, understanding of the other person, appreciation of, well, okay, I do things this way. That's weird in its own right. And so when they're doing things this way, well, they're weird just like me. It's okay. We can be weird together. They just have a weird, different way of going about it. Um, Giving them what they want in a way that's good for you too is nice. You get to, imagine that you're practicing your FE. Imagining that you're logging on to this unifying ambassador, unifying envoy character within your psyche. That's about bringing people together and building bridges and being proactive, meeting other people's needs. If you can, like, gain more rapport and XP experience with that character, that does really help out your life, because then you can use those strengths more. That holistic development, I think, is so important. So dealing with what's going on inside you first is one of those strong ways. More beverage. Zadok, the cat. Can we be successful? I have yet to have long-term successes. So you're successful at not having long-term successes. Nice. I mean, if you stick with anything long enough, it'll work. in some way. It might not be your first desired goal, but things pivot, things change all the time. With like spacecraft, okay? If they're planning on going to the moon, well, there's a lot of calculation stuff that goes with that, right? They have to really, really get clear on the rotations and the direction and all this other stuff. With driving a car, which I think is more like what we should be doing, you don't just say, "Okay, I'm going to the supermarket," and then you just like set the course and go. Like there's course correction. I'm not talking about like AI driven smart cars or anything like that, but like there's constant adjustments and changes, slowing down, speeding up. Sometimes you got to dodge something. That's more like what you should treat things as. And I know that's it's difficult to say. That's something that like I struggle with too. I'm not going to get too much into it right now, but my plans and desires for this channel as Geek Psychology um, are changing. They have to change, and I've held on to it for so long. I tried to do the whole planning thing, like the spacecraft, but really, having more closely tied turns and feedback and adjustments, I think is the better way. So set your goal, plan for it, break it down. What are the next steps? What's the smallest thing that you need to do in order to get closer to that goal? And take action. Take way more action than you believe is possible. And you will succeed. You have to succeed because you're doing stuff that lead to success. Hey, Ronald. As an ENTP, I've learned to be okay with not being super organized. Yeah. Yeah, being okay with that is an important thing too. I think one issue that comes a lot of times with people is like with personality type, we're like, well, this is just who I am. So I can't change, right? I'm always going to be messy. I'm always going to be disorganized. I'm always going to be overly emotional or, you know, not want to leave my soft couch. But it's not all of you. It's just a facet of you. If you find value in improving it, then go for it, you know? But if not, then don't waste your time and energy, dealing with it. Here we go. Hey, Nicholas. You said you spent 30 years to struggle to find the activity you like. Do you think we all have a mission we need to identify? Is it your case, your thoughts, any advice? Cool. Um, I mean, I was always, of course, curious about myself and interested in like delving deeper into who I am, why I'm feeling this way, why are these things happening? What is the meaning of everything in life? And this just like our cognitive functions, I believe, highlight different themes and different stories and arcs and general interests within our lives. And by following those, we naturally end up in places that are breeding more interest for things that we like, right? Like, okay, if I'm constantly pursuing self discovery and creativity, that is going to intrinsically be fulfilling to me. And then surrounding yourself with more of that, creating an environment, a life that builds off that embraces that allows for that is a shortcut to getting there, to having purpose and mission and being on quest with your life. The problem is most people don't know about personality type. So you're here, you got a leg up on it. Go for it, man. If I knew about personality type when I was 7, 11, 15, 20, 25, any of those. I think it really would have helped, because then I would have had some sort of template. And I know it might have like a bad tinge to it. The extroverted thinking, templatized way of doing things. I know we can have a lot of pushback towards, but if it works and it's helpful, then I no longer see any reason to not follow it. And with that, of course, I'm still going to be like, well, maybe I can do it differently. Maybe I can change things. Maybe I can, make this better by reinventing the whole process and doing more extroverted intuition thing and tailoring it directly towards me. And that'll always be a thing too. There are like niches and facets that you're always going to delve down more into. Whatever your mission is, like, it's not going to be the whole thing. It's actually going to probably be a more narrow part of that is so fulfilling to you. But there are other things that you have to do in order to supply that, and keep that going. I'm not sure how to best ask this. I will do my best to interpret. But I'm an ENTP in a house full of NFP folks. Poor dude. I love my family dearly, but I sometimes am having issues with them reading things into what I said that I don't mean. Any tips for communicating with them better? Well, you both share extroverted intuition, which is good. At least you share like a lens to see the world through. Because if you don't have that, then that causes issues too. But yes, the judging function is usually the one that's a bit higher up on the scale of like conflict. Like, why do you make decisions this way? It's just ridiculous. I guess trying to just delve deeper into understanding why they're doing the things that they do, why they're communicating in the ways that they're doing. If they're reading into what you said that you don't mean, I might have to, finesse this too. But one really empowering, to me, it's empowering way of thinking about communication and relationships is that the meaning of the communication is the response that it gets. This comes from neurolinguistic programming. So it's up to me to say things in the way that I mean and the way that I want. And if they're having a response to it that is different than that, well, that's, it comes back to, okay, I should communicate things differently. Maybe I need to explain things differently. Maybe what I was trying to get at didn't actually land. And it can't always happen, Everybody brings in their own baggage to every situation, every conversation. But with that, then I think we can like activate more of the problem solving ability of ENTPs, and you can like narrow in on, well, what specifically was the problem with this thing that I said, or no, I actually was talking about this, and you can get more specific on that, like kind of delving a little bit deeper into your intentions being good and then explaining them logically in a way that they can understand. Hope that was helpful. Advice for 2 INFPs in a possible relationship? Well, I've had an INFP relationship before. It was cool. We were both very slow to to take action, to assert ourselves in any way, and to say what we wanted. It was a lot of like Is this what you want to do? Do you want to do this? You want to go here? Is this okay? Like always deferring decision making out to the other person. Um, so I have a video about this. I'm not sure exactly which one. I can't keep track of them anymore. Um, but I think within that dynamic, it's super cool because you both do think and feel about things in a similar way. Um, of course, you have your own values, and they have their own values, and they have their own past experiences, and you have your own, right? So knowing that not everything is going to exactly be communicated, but you still get to get past a lot of the other issues with different cognitive function dynamics going on. But making sure that somebody kind of steps up, maybe it's even if it's like scheduled, like, okay, this week you're going to make the decisions, next week I'll make the decisions, um, might be something that would be helpful, because somebody needs to do it so that it doesn't just fall into the wayside. Keeping up on cleanliness too. It's probably a good thing. All right. We got a princess in the house. Good morning, watching here from Hong Kong. Hello. Cool. That's probably closer to me than most people in the world. You're an ESTP. Cool. What's your wisdom for me? Ooh. How can I improve more myself from those negative traits I have as an ESTP? Like being so stubborn, blunt to the max, not listening to anybody, but not too bad at that. Good. Sometimes I confused who I am really. Yep. Struggling with it silently. Thank you. Thanks for following. Thanks for being a part of the community. Um, First of all, don't struggle silently. Go out there, get some support, get some help, talk to people about it. You don't need to do it yourself. And I know a lot of us want to do it ourselves, but you don't need to. And it's faster, it's better, it's easier if you get feedback from other people and get support from other people. Easier in ways. I know it's difficult in other ways. It feels more vulnerable by doing that. But if you get through it faster, it's like ripping the Band-Aid off, right? Get through it faster, it's going to be, I think, a better situation. Just general advice into improving yourself. Well, right there, you said some of the things that you can work on, right? Being stubborn, blunt, not listening. So, I mean, personally, I would put those down on paper in a journal or something like that and say, okay, these are the things that I want to work on. What's the action that I can take in order to improve that? If it's about listening to people, okay, how can I listen to somebody more intently today? Having empowering questions around those things. So, process oriented questions. How can I do this more today? That'll kind of cue your mind to look for those options, those possibilities, and ways of doing that. I don't think, being blunt is not a problem unless it's a problem for the person that you're talking to. And then, some tailoring might be necessary for that. Knowing that you have the envoy, extroverted feeling, you have the adept, introverted thinking, and you can bounce back and forth between those. Like today, maybe this is a time that I need more envoy, that I need to be a little bit more like people person, follow some social expectations, you know. And that doesn't mean it's not you. That doesn't mean, you're sacrificing part of yourself. It's just trying on a different facet, putting on a different uniform for the moment. I guess that wasn't a actual question to me. Sorry. Um, I think you want extroverted feeling. Yeah, you wish you had it. Um, yeah, we all have our own strengths. We all have our own character class that we play, So just appreciating your own strengths and then finding ways of leveraging those and shoring up the weaknesses from the other ones. Spend some time doing FE stuff. This is what we talk about in the Path of Heroes Academy. If you're interested, this video stream is brought to you by Path of Heroes Academy, myself. You can go to poha.geekpsychology.com or just go to geekpsychology.com and it's in the courses. It's not actually open right now. We're just finishing. We have one more week, but it's a holistic self-development course where we go into all the different cognitive functions. We personify them. We create characters for them and a story for them. And then we have different activities. There are different missions that you can go on in real life and in your imagination as well. And change work, leveraging neuroplasticity and hypnosis type stuff. There are affirmation tracks to help you get better at these different cognitive functions by getting rid of some of the baggage attached to them and by adding on real life skills to those, by being proactively supportive of other people, you start to gain skill around it, by hosting parties and events. Well, you learn more about what to do as an envoy or how to improve that FE part of yourself. Hey, what's up, Kevin? I'm so behind in the text, I think. Hey, Nabi, hello. How do I deal with other people dismissing my achievements? Ooh, I struggle with people's parameters of success being different, yeah, and not seeing progress in my path. They don't see progress in your path, or you don't see progress in your path. And does it matter? you know, if you are making progress and you're tracking your progress, find some measurable way of doing it. Whether it's, I don't know specifically what we're talking about right now, but if it's like writing a book, well, you can track that. Find some sort of measurable thing. I spent 20 minutes doing this, even if it's time, or I wrote this amount of words, or I cold called some people. If you're actually making progress, then finding a way of doing that is good. With self-development, it's pretty hard to track that stuff. One thing that you can do is you can use the INFP kind of journaling process of tracking 0 to 10, like how active was this cognitive function character within me for the day, and constantly tracking that, you could gain some more awareness of how often you are putting time and energy and stuff into that, which will hopefully translate into building skill around it. But it's a difficult realm to quantify and to qualify. But that's what most people want. They want to see some sort of tangible result, some statistic that, okay, all right, so you are doing this, you are making progress. There's a quote from a hypnotist NLP practitioner that I like. She says, it's Melissa Tears. She says, a little bit of neuroscience goes a long way. So if you just sprinkle, just enough scientific backing, or in this case, progress evidence, then it can go a long way. Maybe that's the thing that you need to do. Or maybe you just need to tell them to shut up and that you're going to do your own thing. That's an option too. Maybe not the best one. Yeah, you have been here for quite a while, Kevin. Sorry, I said I'm behind in all these messages because I ramble. Have been leveling up without telling us. I think so. I'm here in nature, in my cabin. No, yeah. I mean, a lot of things are happening. Um, New courses, new products, new projects, new developments in my family, which I'm not going to talk about right now. Self-understanding, all sorts of cool stuff, and possibly a new direction for this channel too. That's hopefully still aligned with the most that I can. Thanks for your channel. Thank you. All the great INFP insights. You're an INFJ. Yes. I feel blessed to have an INFP mom. Oh, cool. She was a great motivator, soother, and advisor to me because of her personality. That's awesome. I'm glad that that you got along well and that she was able to be in a healthy state, you know, psychologically, in order to give you the gifts of being an INFP, or at least, communicate some of them. I think it's really unfortunate when, in family situations and friends and stuff too, when somebody who's not a healthy version of their personality type, like, taints the rest of all other people with that personality type for us. Does that make sense? Like, there's so many cool gifts from every personality type, but we bring in our own baggage, they have their baggage, and it's just like, well, this is how this type of person is. It's a bit sad, you know. And I think more INFPs need to step up into that healthier state and do it. I'm not going to go too deep into this one, of course. Victor the Conqueror. I love that name. This may be a bit controversial, but what are your thoughts on INFPs that are religious? I think, everybody can do whatever they want. Is that the most INFP thing that I can say? If you find some sort of understanding and purpose through religion, then awesome for you. I'm not religious. Um, I'm spiritual, I suppose, in a way. Like, I believe in karma and something's going on, but it's not, I don't have an idea about what that is necessarily. I think a lot of it is, um, things that we create as humans. But if it's helpful for somebody, cool. As long as they're not forcing it on other people, then things are all good. Oh boy. Oh boy. What's the difference between INFPs and INFJs? I have a video on this. Came out recently. I think you should watch that. It's what is it called? Help somebody. INFPs and INFJs, same world, different language. I think that's the difference. Like, we both live in idea space and heart space, but we have different ways of communicating those, different orientations for how we do that stuff. But I could, I don't want to necessarily talk for 20 minutes about it, but some of the differences are just the cognitive functions. They're all different. They're all in a different order. INFJs lead with introverted intuition, what I call the visioning mystic. And then they have their auxiliary function as extroverted feeling, which I call the unifying envoy. So it's this mystic, long range focused. How are things, culminating over here? What's the, I can't think of the word. Convergent. Yeah, convergent thought or idea space, plus external peopling, gathering people around, meeting people's needs and things like that. Perceiving the culture and interacting with it. INFPs are opposite in many ways. Introverted feeling is the dominant function. So it's this resonating soul, as I call it. It's about your conscience, making decisions that are aligned with who you are as a person. And we all want to do that in life in ways, but for the personality types, like that's one huge focus that they put so much time and energy around. So it gets highlighted a lot more in their life. And then the auxiliary function is extroverted intuition, which is idea space, but it's bouncing around, it's brainstorming, it's faster, it's breadth focused instead of that convergent idea. It's a divergent idea. Hope that helps without going endlessly deep into it. Hey, Eric, I see you here too. Thanks for sharing all the quotes, Kevin. Those are all, yes, deeper into the differences of introverted feeling, INFP and INFJ stuff. Did I ever meet an INTJ female? I'm sure I have. I don't have any in my life. Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, somebody I worked with before years ago. She let me profile her, like personality profile her, and came up as INTJ. She's super cool. My brother-in-law is an INTJ. I think it might be about that time for me to wrap up. I'm scrolling through the rest of the questions and stuff, making sure that I see them all. Yeah, best mate for male INFP. It's said that ENFJs are the power pair, and my wife is an ENFJ, so could be a thing, could be true. Yeah, but I think anybody can work. It's just a matter of how much time and energy you're going to put into it, how healthy each person is, what the dynamics of the relationship are. You just got to work with those, and is the love strong enough to hold up all the other conflicts and issues that come? And just because, like, for example, if you're an INFP and you start dating an ENFJ, that does not mean that the relationship is going to be perfect and rainbows and jelly beans and unicorns and good stuff. People have crap that they're dealing with all the time, So just know that that's not going to fix all the problems. I know a lot of people are like, well, which one personality type can I date and not have any emotional struggle, not have any hurt or pain? That doesn't exist. It's always going to be there in some way. Just gotta go with it and make sure that you do the best that you can. Cool. Well, we've been here for an hour and 15 minutes or so, which is cool. I enjoyed seeing all you guys, seeing your comments, answering questions. Hopefully it was helpful. Sorry about the audio at the start. I wish I knew that it was connected to that. With this, every app, has some different settings. It's like, oh, you want to use this mic that you never use? Sure. I'll hook it up for you right now, boss. So anyway, yep. So hopefully it was helpful. I look forward to talking to you guys again. Maybe I'll do this more often. I think I say that every time, and I want to. Maybe I should actually do it this time. So, all right. Good luck. Have fun. Thanks a bunch. Bye.